This is section 4.8, where we are going to learn how to use the discriminant. And before we can learn how to use the discriminant, we have to learn what the discriminant is. And the discriminant is simply part of the quadratic formula. And we've dealt with the quadratic formula quite a bit in section 4.8. So I've got it written here one more time. X equals the opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And the discriminant I have highlighted, which is the portion of the quadratic formula that falls underneath the square root. That's the discriminant. And we can use that to determine whether we have two real solutions, one real solution, or two imaginary solutions. In the previous sections, when we were finding the x values, it was given to us in the directions whether we had two real solutions, one real solution, or two imaginary solutions. But as we start working on this more in depth, that information is not going to be given to you. So you want to be able to identify how many solutions you actually have. And I've got a little chart here which is helpful to us. Remember, the discriminant is b squared minus 4ac, which you see here over and over again. B squared minus 4ac, b squared minus 4ac, etc., etc. So the little chart tells us that you'll have two real solutions when the discriminant is going to be greater than 0. You're going to have some positive number underneath the square root. Then you will have two real solutions, always. You're going to have one real solution when your discriminant is equal to 0, because we take the square root of 0, and the square root of 0 is simply 0. So when you have a number and you add 0 to it or subtract 0 to it, you still get the same number. Right? And I'm going to scroll back up to what we did here in part B, where we had 400 minus 400, square root of 0 was 0, and negative 20 plus 0 and negative 20 minus 0 still gave us negative 20, so we only had one solution, all right, because adding and subtracting 0 doesn't change the value of the number. So, two real solutions greater than 0, one real solution, the discriminant is equal to 0, and two imaginary solutions, your discriminant is less than 0, right? Because you're going to have a negative number underneath the square root, and we know that you can't really do that, so we learned the technique of imaginary numbers, complex numbers, where we can turn that negative into an I and then simplify the square root after we've done that. And we did that up here in part C. When we had the square root of negative 4, that negative became an I. Then we took the square root of 4, which was 2, and then we continued to simplify the problem to get our answer. So what we're going to do in this section is we're not going to solve and find the roots, the x values. All we're going to do is simply evaluate the discriminant and state whether there's two real solutions, one real solution, or two imaginary solutions. So in the first problem, all we have is a quadratic. It's not an equation. We have our expression, and it's x squared plus 6x plus 11. Let's find out if we have two real solutions, one real solution, or two imaginary solutions. So we're going to use our discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. Remember, this is the part underneath the square root in the quadratic formula. So in this problem, we can see a is 1, b is 6, and c is 11. So I'm going to plug in b squared, or 6 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 11. So 6 squared gives me 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. And negative 4 times 11 is negative 44. So we have 36 minus 44, which gives us negative 8. So the discriminant value is negative 8. That means negative 8 is going to be underneath the square root in the whole quadratic formula. So we can see that the discriminant is less than 0, so we're going to have two imaginary solutions. And this is our answer. Evaluated the discriminant, and we stated we have two imaginary solutions. Let's do it again. We've got x squared plus 6x plus 9. Our discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Our a value is 1 again. Our b value is 6. And the c value is 9. So b squared is 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 9. 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 9 is negative 36. So 36 minus 36 is 0. So when our discriminant equals 0, we'll go back up to our chart. When the discriminant equals 0, we have one real solution. So I'm going to write one real solution. And we'll go down to our last problem, which is x squared plus 6x plus 5. We're going to evaluate our discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. Our a value, again, is 1. Our b value is 6. And our c value is 5. So we've got 6 squared minus 4 times 1 times 5. 6 squared, again, is 36. Negative 1 times 4, or negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times 5 gives me negative 20. And 36 minus 20 is 16. So my discriminant is 16, which falls into the category of the discriminant being greater than 0. So we have two real solutions. So I'm going to come back down and state that we have two real solutions. And that is the end of section 4.8.